So you're searching for a home in an area outside of your hometown. You're likely looking online, you're scouting out the maps, you're seeing the different houses, and you're finding some houses that look great. But what about the area? One of my favorite services that we offer to clients is our tours. Now, since we've evolved with technology and grown as a company, we've put together virtual options for our neighborhood tours. But man, my favorite is loading a client up into the car, putting them in the passenger seat, grabbing some water or coffee, and cruising town and sharing with them the stories that I've accumulated over all my years of living here in Roseville about which neighborhoods are great and why, and so-and-so lived over there, and oh, that house sold over here, and this and that, and giving them some of the background, in-depth stories to what it's like to live in Roseville. Now, through that experience, through talking on the phone to people moving here, and through those times where they're sitting in my passenger seat asking me questions, I've started to compile a list of some of the most common questions that our clients have asked. Now, I've put together that list, and I'm gonna share with you the top 5 most frequently asked questions for people that are moving to the Roseville area. And you're gonna wanna stick around for number 5. It's one question that I have the hardest time answering, but I'm gonna share with you my answer and do the best I can to honor that question. So let's dive into question number 1. Question number 1 is a relatively easy one, and it's, what are the schools like? Now, in my opinion, the schools are well organized and well run across the board. I find that some of the people that are looking to move to the Roseville area are seeking a more moderate to conservative sort of lifestyle, and they might be wondering, is this a school that has a strong sense of community, strong family values, things like that? And the reality is yes, across the board, Roseville City School District and Dry Creek are both very well-run districts. They're moderate. You don't have some of the polarized battles that are happening right now within the school system across the country. And so in that regard, both Roseville and Dry Creek, which are the 2 main districts here in Roseville, are very well run and managed and are going to be a moderate environment for the kids. And this is the type of environment that people can't really find in their current town, in most cases. But when it comes to the question, how are the schools or what schools are the best, I think it's really important to know what areas of academics you are most interested in. So it's my understanding that many of the school's principals, they will make themselves available to answer school-specific questions. So if you have a particular need or a service or a focus that you want out of a school, then I highly encourage you to reach out to some of these principals and ask. Reach out to school board members and ask. They're open to that sort of dialogue. I've also noticed that most of the schools in Roseville operate from the same standards and principles that are set forth by the district. So while one school may have a higher rating than another, it may not be a direct reflection of the quality of education that's available. It may just have to do with the population at that school. Now, keep in mind that many of the school ratings have been impacted by test scores, which honestly have not been good throughout the state because we're still helping our kids recover from the impact of COVID. I like to recommend that parents research schools that they're familiar with, that are within their own town, and then see what that school's rating is and use that as a baseline for the school that they would hope to attend in Roseville. That's the best I can do there, but across the board, the schools in Roseville are great. It really just depends what you're looking for. Another question that I get is, where do people work? So a recent article showed that 20% of Roseville's workforce is working remotely. Roseville has always been a destination city for Bay Area residents and Southern California residents, but specifically Bay Area, many of them were able to move to Roseville sooner once they were granted permission to work remotely. A lot of times it was like early retirees that were going to be retiring and living in Roseville soon, so we'll just commute for a few more years until we're done there. Well, that's not the case. Now, a good chunk of people are able to work remotely. So we have not just early retirees, but also young people that are moving their families here to Roseville for a more quality of life, slower pace of living, a little bit more bang for your buck in terms of how much house you can get, and then they're able to work remotely and still make the income that they were making down in the Bay Area. So that just represents 20%, right? 20% of the workforce in Roseville working remotely. I thought that was actually a pretty large percentage. There's also other working opportunities, of course. Roseville owns its own utility district. So Roseville operates water, streets, sewage, garbage. They also have their own electrical department. So city utility district, city employment through the utility district is a big source of jobs here in Roseville. Roseville is also really close to Sacramento. So when we think about government work, Sacramento is just a quick commute down the freeway. In most cases, you can be in downtown Sacramento in 30 to 45 minutes during heavy traffic. And so a lot of people commute from Roseville into Sacramento, so government is a big one. Roseville is also home to 2 major hospitals and several other medical clinics. So healthcare, and plus healthcare management facilities. So, if you're in healthcare, there's a good chance that Roseville would be a hub for you. And then also, Roseville is still a growing city. So there's a lot of development happening here in Roseville, but also Lincoln, also Rockland, and surrounding parts. So construction is still a big one for this area as well. Another question I get is, are there a lot of families here? And the short answer to that is yes, there are a lot of families here. Like I mentioned earlier, a big reason that people are moving to this area is because of the school systems and the safety of a community. Now, to that, there are a lot of families that are coming here. Also, a lot of the new homes that are being built are built for families in mind. Now, not just families, there's certainly some communities where single folks are living, or retired age people are living that don't have young kids in the household. But as a whole, there are a lot of families here in Roseville. It tends to be a more family-friendly environment. There's a ton of parks. Weekends are spent doing soccer games and things like that. So yes, there are a lot of families here in Roseville. Now you might be wondering, what is there to do? If I don't have a family maybe, and I'm looking for something more fun to do, well, I will tell you to check out one of my videos, because I did the top 5 most social neighborhoods in Roseville. So go check out that. But if you're wondering what to do, there is a long list of things that you can do here. A lot of people get outdoors, and one of the things that's great about Roseville is that you're centrally located, in a sense that you can get down to this San Francisco City in an hour and a half. You can get up to Tahoe in an hour and a half. You can get to Auburn and do some hiking. You can get down to Sacramento and experience that downtown vibe. You can get out to the river. You can go to Folsom. You can go, there's a lot of opportunity here for places you can go within a relatively short drive. Now, what about if you don't want to drive and you just want to stay here in town? So there are so many restaurants, there's shopping that's available, there are tons of trails and walking paths, there's parks. So if you do have a family, or if you just enjoy kind of getting out and chilling outside, there's like 46 parks, I believe, here in Roseville. There's just plenty of things to do. I remember as a kid, you always think, there's nothing to do, or I'm bored. And I kind of think that was the case when I was a kid. But keep in mind, like, the mall wasn't here. There wasn't a whole lot here. Now there's Topgolf, there's Sunsplash, there's movie theaters, there's bowling alleys, there's a ton of restaurants. There's 6 golf courses here in Roseville, which is a big thing that a lot of folks do. There are all the parks that I mentioned, so there's a lot of sports games going on. Speaking of sports, there are several gyms here, big gyms. There's sports complexes that have football fields, soccer fields, batting cages, you name it. There is plenty to do here in Roseville, and even the downtown Roseville vibe is developing. And there's new things there, like new restaurants, new bars and pubs. And then beyond just the actual structures and places that you can go to visit, the city itself is doing a great job in offering community events. Like downtown Roseville has a Tuesday night market. They have Wine Down Wednesday. There's a lot of events that the city is responsible for hosting and facilitating, so that there's more stuff to do here in Roseville. So the answer to my question is there's plenty of things to do. It's just like, what are you into? And the last question that I promised to tell you, the one that honestly I have a hard time answering, but I'm gonna give it to you straight here, or as straight as I possibly can, is, are there any bad neighborhoods in Roseville? Now, the simple answer to that is no. There's not one major neighborhood that is absolutely horrific. You can't drive through it. It's unsafe to go through there. If you go through there, that's bad news. Don't stop at the stop signs. Like, we don't have any of those neighborhoods here in Roseville, but that's not to say that there aren't neighborhoods that have some crime that's occurred. That's not to say that you are completely immune from any sort of a risk of danger or anything like that. What I like to think about, so I've lived in several different neighborhoods here in Roseville. I have friends that have lived in every single neighborhood here in Roseville, and it's really not fair for me to pinpoint one specific area as unsafe. I will say this, some of the most common sense things that you could think of, like what are the things nearby? If you're by railroad tracks, so in Roseville, the oldest communities in Roseville are near the railroad tracks. Well, if you look on crime maps, those neighborhoods have a lower safety score rating than some of the other ones. Why is that? I don't know. I mean, that just tends to kind of happen, right? When you have homes and properties that are near railroads, for some reason, that is the way it is. When you look at the overall safety score, so I use a program called the Real Scout. Did you know that in California, all of California, the average safety score says that you have a 1 in 227 chance of being impacted by a violent crime. Now that's an average of all of California. If you took all the numbers up and you average it, you have a 1 in 227 chance of being impacted by a violent crime. In Roseville, you have a 1 in 553 chance of being affected by a violent crime. Now, the absolute worst neighborhood by that standard in Roseville is a 1 in 153 chance. So while yes, there are neighborhoods in Roseville that are below what the state would consider to be like the average safety level, it's still not a significant amount, and by and large, most of Roseville is well above the safety standard for the average in California for being impacted by a crime. Having said that, some surrounding neighborhoods in, let's say, bigger cities like a Sacramento or a San Francisco or Bay Area, some of those cities have a 1 in 50 or 1 in 60 chance of being impacted by a violent crime or a crime. So something to take into consideration. I don't feel right pinpointing specifically what neighborhood is a bad neighborhood, because honestly, I've known people that have lived in all of them, and there's good in every single neighborhood here in Roseville, I believe. But if we want to dive deeper into that, I highly recommend, looking into some of the reports that I have available, which is a neighborhood scout report. Also just, crime, you can Google crime and safety scores of neighborhoods. And then if you just want to have a direct conversation about it, then we're open to that as well. All right. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you want more videos, I mentioned earlier the one that had the top 5 social neighborhoods in Roseville. Check that out. And if you're looking to do your own little private tour and hear about all the stories that we have and learn more about the community, then we would love to host one of those as well. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Jeff Goolsby. It's my mission to help people win in real estate, and hopefully I've given you enough ammo, enough information so that you can make the right next move when it comes time for you to buy a home here in Roseville. Thanks for watching.